Deuteronomy chapter 26, um, talking about offerings and again tithes. So here we see the offering here. It's a giving of the first of the harvest, so kind of first fruits of the harvest, giving it to God out of recognition that harvest at all is a gift. And again, there's this measure of trust that's here. I'm giving part of the first part, trusting that the rest is going to be sufficient for me. Giving to God first and then trusting Him, and putting Him first. That's part of the dynamic here. But also it's just recognizing that what we receive is a gift. And I think there's probably at least an aspect where farmers have a bit more of an appreciation of what they receive for the labor of their work is a gift from God, because there's things that the farmers that I've talked to, they try to control what they can to the best degree they can, but they recognize there are a lot of things that are completely outside of their control. They watch the weather, but they don't control it. They try to respond appropriately. When's the right time to plant? When's the right time to harvest? What do they need to do for caring for their crops or their flock or their herd, as the case may be? But they're watching, they're doing what they can, but there's so much that is outside of their control. And so in verses 5 through 9 here, we see Moses giving this recitation. Like, this is something to say, this is something to remind yourself of, so that you remember you have a reason to be thankful, that you should have cultivate an attitude of thankfulness and generosity to those who are less well off. This is just something, generosity is part of the heart of God, His love for those who are in need. And when He looks at this world, there's no one He doesn't see with need. It includes me, it includes you. It's why Jesus came. It's why He's looking to work in and through us with the Holy Spirit, because He knows our need and He wants to use us as well to bless those around us. Levites, foreigners, are a part of these celebrations. And here's where is mentioned in verse 28, and the other ties in chapter 14, verse 28, sorry, not 28 here. This tie to the needy. It's something that happens every 3 years. And again, that's where I just want to remind us that there are those who've taught that tithing is an Old Testament practice, and we're to do it because it was in the Old Testament. It's that simplistic reading. That's not reading the scriptures well, because there wasn't one tithe. There was three. Two of them were every year, and one every 3 years. The one every 3 years, as we see here, for those who are in need, for those who are in poverty. What the Bible teaches across the board isn't tithing, but rather, more generally, systematic generosity, systematic proportional generosity, where we take what we receive. And again, for some of us, I get paid every other week. That's when I receive my pay. Others receive it at a different basis. Depends on the industry, depends on the arrangement with the employer, all sorts of factors. But there's this thing that as you are receiving, that you are taking a proportional piece of that, you're taking a percentage, and you're giving that intentionally, specifically. This is what I look to do. And again, this is where all sorts of nuances need to come in. Are we in a time of prosperity? Are we in a season where we're gaining, we're earning more, that our cost of living has decreased, but our earning has gone up, or vice versa? And so maybe the percentage shifts and changes, but it should always be seeking to live below our means as much as we can, as is feasible, so that we can be generous to those around us, systematically giving as God is calling us to, but also have margin that we can, on a spontaneous basis, have things to be able to give. Moses closes this section of Deuteronomy, this speech, with a call to obey, because saying, look, you're God's people. And today, as the church, we are God's people. We're called to obey Jesus because we are part of a covenant people where we have said to God, it's like a marriage. I made a commitment. I made a vow to Bridget. And so I'm called to honor that because I've made a commitment. In following Jesus, we have entered into a covenant with God. It's not just simply saying, Jesus, thank you that I've forgiven for my sins, and I really thank you for that gift. And that's not what following Jesus is. That's not what responding to the gospel is. It's changing how we live in every area. We're called to obey. Jesus said in the Great Commandment, we're called to make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey all that he's taught. So I'm just going to speak to just in the sense of generosity, because it's been a theme of the last number of chapters. How is God calling you to be generous? Systematically, proportionally, and leaving room for even some spontaneity. Whatever that may be for us, let's give because of how much we've been given. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you. And today would you know his peace. God bless.